Hello everyone and welcome to another car profile where we're looking at the Honda NSX Gr.3 car, not to be confused with the GT3 car version of the NSX. I will explain. If you're not subscribed already, please do subscribe. These car profiles come out every single week when I get a chance. Now this car is a turbocharged car, although we're unsure of the size of the engine. It's MR layout, which means it's mid-engined rear wheel drive with 6 gears, and you do rev the nuts out of this car. It is turbocharged as well. So this is not the GT3 version. This is a different car. It's a Gran Turismo car to the GT3 version. In terms of BOP then, it's 505 brake horsepower, 1,310 kilograms across the board there on the high, medium and low. So quite heavy car. It feels heavy, that is for sure. And it has been to many world finals, particularly with B Racer leading the way with the Honda. It does wear the GT3 livery, though, as much as it isn't the GT3 car, which was ran and used at the Spa 24 hours. Car does have some odd behaviors, though, so let's jump into the car profile. Let me talk about those odd behaviors, as well as let's see where it ends up on the board. So, low-speed BOP test is at Laguna Seca. Of course, this is the track of choice where we can test out how good it is on the low-speed BOP when they do indeed change that low-speed BOP. Now, we are racing the Porsche 911 RSR down on that right-hand side, and coming out of turn 1, actually, it wasn't too bad in terms of grip. Although, I will say, this car reacts so random over bumps and just curbs in general, really. So Laguna Seca is quite a bumpy circuit, so I did struggle with this car initially. It really just didn't want to play ball, if I'm honest with you, as I come into this left-hander. Now, you do have the nuts out of this car, and it does suffer a little bit with understeer, which I believe is from the weight. Now, coming up to this left-hander, real test of any car here. If I even touched the curb on the inside, I went flying. So I always tried to avoid it, and it did mean that I wasn't as aggressive as I probably could be with this car. There's definitely a bit of time left on the table here as we head up towards the corkscrew. Corkscrew, it did suffer with the usual MR weight transfer oversteer there. You can see a little bit there as we go through the corkscrew. What time is this going to be? Nearly half a second down on that Porsche 911 as we go through the left-hander. It really did like left-handers. Mid-speed and high-speed corners, it seems to be quite good at, but low-speed corners, it just feels very clunky indeed as I head towards the final corner, which of course is a low-speed corner as we go onto the brakes there. Turned in a tiny bit too early there. This is why we always look at Optimum in the end. We do race against faster slaps. However, the leaderboard at the very end is done on Optimum times. As we cross the line there, 1:21.7, half a second down on the Porsche 911. Let's see how it ends up on the leaderboard, though, in terms of the Optimum times, because that is what we do. So it's easier to get 10 Optimum sectors than it is to get the best lap, of course. And that's what we're going to compare. And it's not even in the top of the leaderboard there, folks. Not even at the top there. So top 10, not for the Honda NSX. It really, really isn't. Now, I've changed some of these graphics a little bit to load a little bit quicker as we go to... it's P11 there. P11. Surrounded by quite a lot of cars there. Very close to the Hyundai Genesis. In fact, when I was editing this, I thought it was a bit of confusion there as I was editing it because the timestamps were so similar. But there you have it. The Honda is better in some areas than the Hyundai Genesis. But let's jump to the medium speed circuit then. Mid-speed here at Suzuka in the Honda NSX. Going into turn 1, it struggles here immensely. You notice here, I'm trying to judge the braking accordingly. It just wanted to oversteer, wanted to lose that rear end. I think it's the weight in this car. It's just got so much over that rear end that it just does struggle with the weight transfer. However, going through these S's, it felt really nice. I felt like I could push on a little bit. Medium speed corners again. I said it earlier. Very good car for the medium speed corners. And as we go through here, not going below 80, quite a critical thing there. And we're actually up on the Toyota Supra there. Purple sector in sector 1 with this Honda NSX as we nearly go off there on left-hander. But of course, this is the fastest lap, so we're not going to go off here as we head towards Tidgney 1. Now, I did suffer a couple of crashes at Tidgney 1 because of that curve as we go into Tidgney 2 then. And Tidgney 2 is very stable on exit. It doesn't suffer with a lot of power oversteer, this car. It really doesn't. We are 1.5 tenths down on that Supra now, though, as we head in towards the hairpin. Quite a hard corner to get right in this car. You definitely need to exit in second gear, I found, as I did that a few times. I was trying first gear on this lap. But again, this is why we take the Optimum times. I tried different things for this car to see what's best as I go through the laps. This is lap 9, of course, of 11. We do 1 out lap and 10 fast laps as we go in towards Spoon. And we're going to go out and then come back in. Now, as we start to slow the car down, get into slower speeds, it is where it started to struggle and started to understeer. Again, when it starts picking up speed, it starts to grip, it starts to go around the circuit, no problem. So it's really weird how that works with this car. Again, it makes it feel really weird to drive, to be honest with you. It really does. Head towards this sector then, we're 4 tenths down on that Toyota Supra then. Going through 130R though, look at that. Really good speed there, 148. I believe on a couple of laps, I may have hit 150 throughout that corner. You can definitely do it flat if you absolutely nail it as we go into the Casio Triangle. Again, very clunky through here. Just felt really understeery and just weighty with the car. As we head towards the line then, what kind of lap time is this going to be? It's a 1:59.5, so half a second off that Toyota Supra. But as I mentioned earlier, we do look at Optimums. At the moment, it's saying it's the same as fastest lap, but we'll see if we did improve on that 1:59.5. We are looking for 58 for the Optimum in terms of overall. And again, it's not in that top 10. The top 10 very close indeed, with the Porsche 911 leading the way there that you can see in P1. But where's the Honda NSX, you ask? Well, let's go towards the second part of the leaderboard. It's P11 again. So it's bang average, this car, is what we're going to say so far from what we've discovered. And it's pretty weird actually, because it is a Japanese manufacturer and I expected it to do better, but it is what it is. It's not doing very well so far. Let's jump to the final circuit then, which of course is Bathurst. This is the high speed circuit that we look at, the high speed bop test. We head in towards turn 1. I did suffer a little bit with a bump on the inside with this one, and second gear, obviously to rev the nuts out of it is what you want. Third gear made it very stable but very slow, so second gear was the way to go here. We're racing the BMW M6 GT3 car here. That is the fastest car in terms of fastest laps at this circuit so far with the car profiles. And we are down by nearly 0.2 of a second. Very slow there. Now, we have done a faster sector. I will happily say that, which is, of course, where the Optimum comes in. Going through the right-hander. It was very nice there, actually. Did suffer a bit of understeer sometimes, but other than that, it was fairly okay. But here's where it was really dominant. Coming into here, I could settle the car really nicely. It stayed flat as I exit this corner. No real issues with drama there, with power oversteer once again. As we head up the mountain then, mid-speed corners, guess what? It just performs very well. I lifted there. I didn't need to. Did on a couple of laps as well. Could fly through here. Going down here again, I could flat out this. Look at the speed I'm carrying. Huge speed. As we get over towards the crest of the hill, gotta be careful here in an MR car. But again, carry so much speed here as we head to go down the hill now. We did say at Suzuka it did struggle with weight transfer. It did struggle here, but I managed to nail it on this lap. Going in towards the left, we go through the dipper. Not too bad compared to other MR cars. Slight tap on the wall there. And the critical thing was, it's the weight. I think it weighs it down a bit more. Oh, a little bit of oversteer there. Now, going to Forest Elbow. I did crash a couple of times in Forest Elbow. I think it's just where the weight is just lifted so much, it's just forced that oversteer at that point. It does feel weighty, this car. I'll say it again. It feels very, very weighty. It's sort of not nice to drive because of the way it feels, but even so, we're going to see what the time is versus that BMW M6 then. With 0.8 down. Oh, my word, that is slow in the grand scheme. 0.8 down. You can actually see on the right hand side we've had a lot of issues in terms of lap times there, trying to bring it down, and that is the weight transfer of the car. It just struggles. It's just too weighty, and I'll say it again, too weighty, this car. It really needs a bit of an adjustment there in terms of maybe lower the weight but lower the speed as well as we head in towards the final corner. Now, the exit of this corner actually was really nice in this car. You could really absolutely boot it out with no real drama then. As we head towards the line, is it going to stay in that 0.8 of a second off that? No, 1.1 essentially there, and that was the final lap that we've done. So you can actually see the Optimum down at the bottom there, 2:02.3. So that is the Optimum time. Where does it sit on the leaderboard though? That is the question. 2:02.3 does not make it into the top 10. It's looking like a very similar position, to be honest, for this Honda NSX. I edited this a few days ago, so I can't actually remember where it does fit in terms of the positions, and it's P13. So yeah, average, bang average, which it has been on every single track so far. So not the strongest and not the weakest, just bang average, but it does feel very clumsy to drive. It really does. We're going to go into a fuel test now, which has completely changed from the previous tests, and I will explain this. So top left is on automatic now and fuel map 1. So that means it will automatically go to the same place every single time on a car and shift. Down in the bottom left, auto fuel map 3. This helps you automatic drivers to see how it does on fuel saving. Top right is half shift now because I've got a line bang in the middle of that bar that I can use. And down in the bottom right, we've got half shift plus fuel map 3. I will get my words out there, and that is where we're saving fuel, the ultimate fuel saving there, but obviously it's going to be slower. So top left is where we finished first. That's the 25.4. I think I can read there. 4 screens to look at here. I know it's very complicated, but I will put this into charts so you can read them and use the data as you will. Top right is what finishes next. So the half shift there. That saves, what's that? Nearly 9% fuel there with that half shift. We're actually saving more fuel with that half shift. This is the critical one than fuel map 3. And fuel map 3 is slower. Look, 64%, but it takes longer to get there. It shows you fuel map 3 is not as good at fuel saving compared to the half shift, short shifting. And that's what I've always talked about. Down in the bottom right then, 72% fuel saved with the half shift plus fuel map 3 there down in that bottom right. And obviously the last to finish there as well. Over a second difference in terms of performance. Now, we're going to put all this into leaderboards, hopefully readable here, and we'll see where the Honda NSX stacks up in the old fuel saving. All these tests have been redone. I did all these fuel tests. It's why the video is a day late. All the fuel tests have been redone, so maximum RPM on automatic. There is the leaderboard right now. The Ford GTLM is just miles ahead of everything there, but it used a lot more fuel as well. What doesn't use a lot of fuel, but doesn't get there very quick, is the Honda NSX. It's down at the bottom of the fuel, maximum RPM, so it does really struggle. Of course, I did say you have to absolutely hit the peak of the RPM in terms of get the performance, and the auto doesn't really do that. Half shift then, it doesn't feature in the top 10 either. And again, I did say you've got to rev the nuts out of this Honda NSX, so I'm not expecting anything good. And there you have it. It's actually even lower now than some of the other cars. It was tired last time. It's definitely last this time with that half shift. Does save 9% fuel though with that short shifting, so it does work out. Obviously, if we're doing the quarter shift, it'd be even worse on the performance. So fuel map 3 and auto. So this is for you auto drivers, okay. And all those fuel saving in the brackets are versus fuel map 1. So you get to see the difference here. It says 7%, but again, it's at the bottom here. In fact, it's not bottom. Aston Martin V12 Vantage should be bottom there. Not sure what's happened there. Apologies for that little issue there on the leaderboard. I will sort that out as we go to fuel map 3 half shift then. Where does it sit on the leaderboard with this one? I will get my words out. A bit tongue twisted today. So this is the ultimate fuel saving, of course, if you really do have to fuel save. And it is, of course, second to bottom there versus the McLaren 650S GT3. So, it is not doing very well, that is for sure. It does save a lot of fuel though there, but yeah, performance-wise, it's not a fuel-saving car. We can see that because it just suffers in terms of performance loss. So that car is rev the nuts out of it. We got to the tyre test now. Now, I did say this car is very weighty. Now, in GT Sports, weight was the determining factor in terms of tyre wear. It's not so much in GT7. It'll be really interesting to see where this does settle. Okay, so what we're doing here is the oval test first. This is essentially no human input. We're flat out. Let's see which tyre wears first. And this tells us essentially how the car wears its tyres in terms of its weight. Now, you do have to compare MR versus MR and FR versus FR, but it's still a good test to do, and I'll continue to do this test because it's the least amount of human interaction in terms of braking and accelerating. We're getting towards the end of this test now as we get towards the end of lap 2. Going to go on to lap number 3. And what we actually do here is we add up all the times as we just use the remaining tyre there on the right rear there. So we add up all the times here. So the 49.548, the 52.464. And don't worry, I've done the calculation to work out the difference there because it was obviously stuck on the previous lap there. We also do this test now, which obviously is impacted by human interaction. We've got braking, accelerating, turning, all in here. Okay, we're going to advance to lap number 5 where we're getting very low in terms of the tyre wear. Then you can see that the right left tyre now is going to go. And this you can compare cars across the board because it's obviously going to tell you which cars wear their tyres first. But obviously human interaction can have an impact on this in terms of controller type, etc. But we are going to finish here on lap number 5, 27 seconds, 0.870 into the lap. Okay, and we're going to add the 4 laps plus that time there to give us an overall time in terms of where the tyres sit, or the tyre wear sits, for the Honda NSX Gr.3 car. Right, here we go then. So with the oval test then, where is the Honda? I cannot see it in there, so it's not the lead MR car. That looks like it's still the McLaren then. So not in the top 10. Where does it sit on this leaderboard? It sits P14 in the end then. Obviously, the longer your tyres last, the higher up the board you go. So yeah, not the greatest, but I kind of think that it does feel weighty, this car, and you can see that there. You know, it's definitely losing out compared to other MR cars. The circuit test, we've not done all the cars yet. That's something I'm going to work on and make sure I get sorted. But as it comes to P6, actually, it goes ahead of the Porsche 911. I think that's because it's so weighty, it doesn't spin the wheels that as much, and therefore it saves its tyres a little bit more. I think that's what's happening there in terms of the circuit. So good to know if you are using the Honda NSX. Top speed, absolutely nowhere then. Not in the top 10 there. Not making 170 miles an hour. Actually 169 miles an hour. And that's ordered alphabetically when you're in that. Somebody asked why I don't use kilometers an hour. I'm a miles an hour driver. So it is what it is. Yes, kilometers an hour would split it out a bit more, but not that much more, to be honest with you. In summary then, so this is the 3 optimum times added up across the board. Overall, it's not in the top 10 there in terms of balance performance, so it is struggling a lot. I'm going to guess it's P11, no, P12 then. P12 overall, because it was average across the board, wasn't it? It really, really, really was. And that is the Honda NSX in a nutshell. It's bang average. Bang average. And we'll see how it stacks up as we go through more of these car profiles. If you did like this video, do give it a like. Subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. If you have any questions, check out the description first. There's some FAQs there as well. If it's not been answered, I'll happily answer it and add it to the FAQs going forward. Now, if you want to have a look at another car profile, do check out that video right there. There's a playlist also in the description. Otherwise, the Beat the Meta where I use this Honda is right there. Do vote for your favorite car in the comments if I've not done it already, and I'll be happy to choose it as we go forward. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in a video very soon.